If a video game is popular and well loved enough, sometimes it will get a re-release on a new system, giving developers a unique opportunity to make some changes for the better, or sometimes for the worse. Doom! Modern games are updated all the time through patches, providing little tweaks, but what we're interested in today are the developers who took the opportunity offered by a full-on re-release of their games to amend some pretty major issues. Here are 7 re-releases that received such fixes. Enjoy, and beware spoilers ahead for the following games. Did you see that Doom thing? It's pretty funny, wasn't it? Bethesda, what if they did that to all old-time games? What if Sonic the Hedgehog was like, you need to connect to the Sonic account net dot thing? That would be weird, wouldn't it?
I want a Sonic account. Where can I get a Sonic account?
Okay, oh no, it's not real. It's not a thing. No,
Sign me up.
Bethesda took it out.
Yeah.
To be fair to Bethesda, they took it out. Now you don't have to be on the internet anymore, so that's fine.
What have you got?
Looks like a drug overdose.
Get away from him, Phelps. This is my case.
Shut your f***ing mouth. Since when does a bagman work a case?
I knew this creep wasn't on the morphine heist. Victim of his own product.
Hey, detective! Can we back it off a notch?
LA Noire was a game from Grand Theft Auto developer Rockstar that cast you as Cole Phelps, a 1950s Los Angeles detective who spent his time solving crimes, being rude to people, and occasionally falling into tar pits. The being rude to people part, however, wasn't always intentional. That was because LA Noire's interrogation system boiled your responses to the people you were talking to down to 3 possible options: truth, doubt, or lie.
What makes you say that about Morgan, ma'am?
He's the foreman at my husband's plant. A very shady character.
On the surface, these options seem pretty self-explanatory. If you think someone is telling the truth, you choose truth. If you're not sure and need some more information or something clarifying, you choose doubt. And if you think they're lying, you choose lie. Simple, right, Cole?
I was down at the 111 Club this morning, waiting for the medical examiner to scrape Eddie McGoldrick's brains off the bar. You want to tell me anything about that?
Not simple, it turns out, because Cole is apparently a barely controlled rage monster who will fly off the handle at the slightest provocation, leading to responses like this, when you just want to ask an old lady to clarify her statement regarding the time her tenant arrived home.
A nosy old hag like you knows everything about the people who live under her roof. Where did she go?
Nice, Cole. Given that interrogating people was approximately 70% of what you do in LA Noire, not knowing whether Cole was going to ask the suspect if they knew the victim well or insult their mother made things a bit tricky. That's why Rockstar decided to tweak the system when they re-released LA Noire for Switch, PS4 and Xbox One in 2017. Now the 3 options available to you are good cop, bad cop and accuse, which feel a lot more in line with the stuff Cole actually comes out with during his interrogations.
You left-wing leaning parasite. You expect me to sit here and listen to your drivel?
Right, like that. According to writer and director Brendan McNamara, the original options were coax, force, and lie, which is what they were working towards when the actor recorded the lines, which gives some context to Cole's sudden outbursts. Additionally, Cole is a hard-boiled 1950s detective, so being a simmering cauldron of rage is somewhat to be expected.
It's real funny, wise guy. You want to try saying that again with no teeth?
Zero chill, those guys.
One of the best things about Deus Ex Human Revolution was that you could play it any way you wanted to, putting your practice points into speechcraft so you could charm your enemies.
You're right. Damn! You know, he even asked me once about hostages.
Or upgrading your punching so you could murder that annoying breakdancer. Ooh, just unconscious. Gonna need a few more upgrades. The game did provide you with numerous cool, lethal options for Adam Jensen, including sword arms and the ability to punch through walls and break people's necks. But with games like this, there's the nagging feeling in the back of players' minds that the game would prefer you to play it in a certain way, and that way is stealthily and non-lethally. For instance, there are 2 hefty achievements for finishing the game without killing anyone and without activating any alarms, which you're definitely not going to get if your playstyle is sprinting into a crowded room and firing bombs out of your spine. Unfortunately for you, if you were going for these achievements and you pumped all of your upgrade points into stealth mods for sneaking and social mods for persuasion, you were going to have significant problems when you got to Deus Ex's mandatory boss fights. That's because all the boss fights were against other cyborgs who didn't get the memo about not putting all your points into guns. This led to some pretty one-sided encounters as your stealth nerd Adam Jensen hid behind a barrel, wondering how many tranquilizer darts it's going to take to incapacitate a cybernetically enhanced war machine with a chain gun. Hope it's not more than one, because that's literally all I have. After the initial release of the game, it transpired that the development of the boss battles had been outsourced to a different studio, which is why they felt like they'd been designed by someone who wasn't really sure what a Deus Ex was. Luckily, Deus Ex Human Revolution was popular enough to get a re-release for the Wii U, known as Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut. This provided an opportunity for IDOS to step in and sort the boss battles out. You still had to kill the bosses, but you could at least now defeat them in the style that you played the rest of the game. The first battle against Barrett, for example, included new vents for you to crawl around in out of sight, as well as hackable gun turrets that you could use against him. The later fight against Yelena Fedorova, on the other hand, now lets you activate a poison gas dispersal system that you can use to your advantage. Just a shame nobody owned a Wii U. I'm just kidding. It is true though.
Hey Z, where you at?
Go away, Carl. I'm very, very busy back here. Top secret stuff, not for your eyes. Too sensitive.
Come on, homie, where are you?
I said go away, Carl. I don't need any friends today. Thank you.
Then them some pretty strong draws.
Yes, my hero. Carl, he came back and humiliated me.
Quick, what's the worst thing about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas? And no, it isn't OG Loke.
It's OG Loke in the place. You don't want to stop me with a gun in your face. Yeah, man. Let's shut the f up.
Or, wait, maybe it is OG Loke. Okay, but the second worst thing about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas has got to be the series of missions you do for Zero, the guy who owns a remote-controlled vehicle shop in San Fierro.
We all know drugs are for losers and or sex maniacs. And right now, sex is the last thing on my mind.
Thank God for that.
Zero, who sucks, can't make a success of his business because he has one rival. So, as is always the case in GTA games, you have to sort out all of his problems for him. In this case, by doing a variety of remote-controlled vehicle missions.
Berkeley's launched a full-scale attack.
This is insanity.
All batteries commence fire!
It's the second mission though, known as Supply Lines, which has gone down in history as the worst mission ever in a Grand Theft Auto game, which, if you've played a Grand Theft Auto game, you'll know is saying something. All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ. I rest my case. In the Supply Lines mission, you're supposed to use remote-controlled planes to destroy vans owned by Zero's rival Berkeley, and, in a disproportionately violent retaliation for monopolizing the remote-controlled vehicle industry, murder all the couriers as well. The problem was that the plane was hard to control, very vulnerable to gunfire, and you were on a time limit for two reasons. One, because you had to destroy the vans before they finished their deliveries, and two, because the plane only had a limited supply of fuel and once it ran out, you'd fail the mission.
My humiliation is complete.
Anyway, the mission was practically impossible, but luckily it wasn't necessary to finish the game, so most people, myself included, just ended up never finishing Zero's stupid RC plane missions, and also harbouring a vague sense of resentment towards David Cross that wouldn't be dispelled until we later discovered Arrested Development.
Man, this is ridiculous.
That went right up my crack.
Anyway, Supply Lines was so difficult and unpopular that Rockstar fixed it twice in subsequent re-releases of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. First, they changed it so that your plane's fuel was only used when you pressed the throttle, meaning that you could glide if you wanted to save gas. That helped, but not enough, clearly, as in the Xbox 360 and mobile ports of the game, the plane's fuel tank is now larger as well. And yet OG Loke is still the same as ever. Priorities, Rockstar.
I'm the man in the place. Punch you in the face. A gun in my waist. It's Loke, baby.
Welcome, Admiral Harkov. We have a matter to discuss. What is the location of your fleet? Now you shall pay for your treachery.
TIE Fighter is the best Star Wars game ever made, and I will fight anyone who disagrees with me, unless you're bigger than me, or better at fighting. Also, the fight will take place in TIE fighters in space. There won't be many who disagree though, because TIE Fighter is excellent. A beautifully balanced dogfighting sim with a unique take on the Star Wars series, as well as some excellent music, cool spaceships, and a bit where you join a secret order and get badass magic tattoos.
Welcome to the inner circle.
As good as it was, however, what the original version of TIE Fighter didn't include was an ending. In TIE Fighter, the overarching story concerns the rebellion of Demetrius Zarin, an Imperial Grand Admiral who sought to overthrow Emperor Palpatine and install himself as the new Emperor. Apparently, this is because he was dissatisfied with Palpatine's rule, and I mean, watching the movies, I can kind of see why. His whole being an evil space wizard with a monster face deal, I expect. Anyway, in the original version of the game, the final mission has Zarin kidnapping Palpatine, you rescuing Palpatine, Zarin fleeing the system, and your Imperial forces planning your pursuit. The game then ends, unceremoniously. Well, I mean, a bit ceremoniously. This is the Galactic Empire after all.
We are here to honor one who has served the Empire.
An expansion pack called Defender of the Empire was released, but it didn't do anything to close out the story. For that, players needed to pick up the re-released version of TIE Fighter, which was called the TIE Fighter Collector's CD-ROM, because 90s. This re-release improved the graphics, added voice acting, and oh yeah, actually finished the G-Damned story with 3 new tours of duty in which you finally track down and defeat Zarin.
Once again we have evaded Thrawn's grasp. I knew I would be able to beat that.
You know, the entire point of the actual game. I mean, apart from collecting new bits for my cool magic tattoo.
You are now the Emperor's voice.
I am? Good. The old voice sucked. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Yeah, like that. That's exactly what he sounds like. Palpatine, that's you.
The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is a perennial fixture on lists of the best games ever, usually because the people compiling them haven't played it for a while and have forgotten about the water temple. For those who blissfully don't remember the water temple, allow me to remind you. It's a confusing, pitiless maze full of water, monsters, and puzzles that require you to endlessly raise and lower the water level so that you can float to where you need to be. Or, if where you need to be is lower, you've got to sink by equipping the iron boots, which are classified as a piece of equipment and thus require you to open the menu, scroll across, and select them every single time you want to do this. And repeat the process in reverse every time you want to surface. Good thing those sounds won't ever become annoying. Before you march to the comments to tell me that you find the water temple easy and I just suck, I would like to point out that Eiji Aonuma, the producer of the Legend of Zelda series, actually apologised for the design of the water temple in a 2009 interview, so the guy who is literally in charge of Zelda agrees with me. Okay, you can go to the comments to tell me I suck now. Anyway, when Ocarina of Time was re-released for the Nintendo 3DS in 2011, they changed the design of the water temple to finally make it a bit more user-friendly. For a start, the iron boots became an item rather than a piece of equipment, so you could toggle them on and off with a single button. But what about my beloved sounds? Boop boop, billy. Oh no, I've got Stockholm Syndrome. There was also a glowing waypoint marker added to show you where you need to go, as well as markings on the wall that made the whole water level system much clearer. Plus, a new cutscene was added to make it obvious where a small key was, saving you a lot of time in pointless, unfun backtracking. So there we have it, the water temple is fine now. Oh wait, I forgot about the Dark Link boss battle.
All fleets, the Crucible is armed. Disengage and head to the rendezvous point. I repeat, disengage and get the hell out of here.
There are 3 things you can't talk about at the dinner table with extended family. Politics, religion, the ending of Mass Effect 3.
Did that all really happen?
Yes, but some of the details have been lost.
Grandma still won't talk to me. Back in 2012, when Mass Effect 3 came out, it was the highly anticipated culmination of a much-loved trilogy, one in which your decisions had consequences that really mattered, and sometimes involved fighting a giant space Terminator. As such, quite a few people were upset when they got to the end of Mass Effect 3 and discovered a kind of choose-your-ending machine, from which you received one of 3 possible endings with minor variables in each. These 3 basic endings were known as Destroy, Control, and Synthesis. Or as we remember them, red space stuff, blue space stuff, green space stuff. Each of these endings offered marginally varying degrees of bittersweet heroism, resolving your beef with synthetic life forms, and indifference to the nuanced journey of difficult decisions you took to reach that endpoint. The spectrum of reactions from disappointed Mass Effect fans ranged from quiet dejection all the way to trying to sue BioWare. In the face of this backlash, BioWare acknowledged the negative feedback and said they plan to address the issue in a new version of Mass Effect 3, known as Mass Effect 3 Extended Cut. They said that owners would be able to download this new version for free and that it would expand upon, but not replace, the current endings. The revised, expanded endings added new scenes to illustrate more of the choices players had made, as well as the option to try to shoot the creepy holographic space child in a new 4th ending, known as the FU ending. Probably.
So be it.
The cycle continues.
Still, it wasn't quite the alternative big happy space ending some folks might have preferred. For that, we suggest making the goofy Mass Effect 3 Citadel DLC your canonical ending of the trilogy. The game ends when you beat James Vega at a pull-up contest.
Holy hell, you did it! I don't know what to say. How you feeling?
Like I could do another 183.
In sports, the term GOAT stands for greatest of all time, which is ironic because there's a puzzle in the first Broken Sword game that contains a goat, and it is the worst of all time. So universally reviled is this puzzle that it warrants its own Wikipedia page, which is about half as long as the actual page for the first Broken Sword game. On the face of it, it seems pretty simple. Protagonist George needs to get access to an archaeological dig site in Ireland. The site is being guarded by a goat who is tethered and pissed off. If George approaches the goat, it butts him to the ground, denying him entry like an overzealous bouncer. So, using adventure game logic, I assume I have to, I don't know, find some goat food, or knock a wall down onto the goat, or build some pogo stilts out of cans and some old springs or something. In fact, what you need to do is let the goat butt you, then as it's resetting its position, you dash over to some farming machinery, move the machinery, and then get the goat to attack you again, at which point its rope will become entangled in the machinery so you can walk past it. The problem was that up to this point, there were no timing-based puzzles at all in Broken Sword, so to most players, it simply wouldn't occur that they needed to act quickly. And so what resulted was an endless cycle of getting headbutted by a goat and swearing before eventually turning the game off and doing something less damaging to your overall well-being, like punching a cactus. Anyway, as proven by its Wikipedia page, the goat puzzle became something of a legend in video game circles. But developer Revolution were given a chance to redeem themselves 13 years later in the Broken Sword Shadow of the Templars Director's Cut. In this version of the game, the timing element was removed from the goat puzzle, so that now you just need to get knocked down by the goat once before moving the farming machinery at your leisure to solve the problem.
The rope by which the goat was tethered had become tangled on the old plowshare.
That said, Revolution still seem to have a fondness for goat puzzles. There's even one in the most recent game, Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse.
Oh no.
Give the people what they want, am I right? Or, you know, do this, the exact opposite of that. Andy.
What, Jane?
How do you feel about the Water Temple?
Jane, please.
Really feel.
Jane, I know you're
Good,
just,
isn't it?
I know you're trying to hurt me, but you can't hurt me anymore. The Water Temple's been changed. It's good now. Didn't you get the memo? Anyway, now that I'm free of the burden of living my life under the shadow of the Water Temple, I can tell you about other videos that you could watch. Here's one from us, which is about really, really hard bonus levels in games to punish good players. And down here is a video from Outside Extra, which is about things that only 90s gamers remember. Remember the 90s? It was rad and gnarly and tubular, wasn't it? Well, you can relive the wonderful decade that was the 90s with this video, so why not go and do that?